So I went to dinner with a colleague yesterday, and she was talking about business partnership and trying to work with somebody else in her business. And I asked the question, do you guys have contracts, and what conversations have you guys had around business and a partnership? I mean, she mentioned that the person has enough experience or has good enough experience, and that they have talked about what's expected from each other in the role. However, this potential partner was also looking to get funding from someone else, and that person wanted to be involved in the business. Then I asked her, well, how is this person going to be involved, and what are their expectations? And she didn't really have an answer for that yet. But it made me think about, a lot of times women in business, we tend to work on a very relational basis. We tend to think about, oh, well, I know her, she's a good person, we're friends, or that's family. And we don't always think about it as a business. So for instance, in this scenario, yeah, the person had some experience. The person also was interested in the business, but we hadn't really clarified what value they'd be bringing to the business, right? What value would the person be bringing to the business? How exactly are you going to distribute ownership, percentages, all of that? Because the business had already been formed by the primary contact who I was speaking with. So she was bringing someone else in, but there wasn't a conversation about what value this person was bringing, how were they going to be compensated, what roles and responsibilities would they have, and ultimately why, right? Not just I want someone to partner with me, but why do I want this person to be my partner? Then we talked through some of those questions, and I gave her some feedback on what conversations to have. And then, of course, the other issue that came up was this other potential partner was taking some funds from someone else to be used in the business. Now, she says she doesn't really need funding from anyone. She was financially okay with her business. But here was a potential partner coming in with funds, and she hadn't clarified the terms of those funds, right? Was it a loan that was going to be taken, and the potential lender would think that the business was taking the loan? Or was it a loan that was going to be taken by this person on their own terms and not necessarily involving the business in any way? Issues like that need to be clarified, because quite often, because we are working on a relational basis, we bring someone else into our business that potentially exposes us to liability, potentially exposes us to issues that we may or may not anticipate. But now we have something else that we have to deal with because a second person brought this third party situation in. Another issue that comes up with women in business is also decision making. And I'm not trying to say women do not make good decisions, because we definitely do. But a lot of times, or oftentimes, our decisions could also be affected by how we feel about a situation or how we feel about a person. Decisions around hiring people, decisions about firing people or when to fire, decisions about who to work with and how to work with them, decisions about managing our boundaries, managing our time effectively, decisions about managing our space, our relationships, the interactions we have, the contractual relationships we have. It sometimes requires an additional level of effort for us to be able to remove emotional considerations when it comes to making decisions. I've had cases where people have made decisions based on familial relationships or based on friendships that ultimately exposed them to unnecessary liability. And in hindsight, if they had sort of separated the emotional connection with the person from their business and looked at it as just a financial decision or just a business related essential decision versus something that had to consider the emotions, they would find that they may have made a different choice. So it's not that women do not do business well, and that's not where I'm trying to go. What I'm just saying is that we need to be more attentive to the needs of the business versus our own needs for balance, relationship management, emotional consistency, and things like that. It is also important, because I have had a couple of cases with contractual issues, it is important that we realize when we are being sold. Example, someone has a business, a consulting team comes over and says, here, we have this service for you. We're going to get to know your staff. We're going to get to know you. How are you doing business? What's going on? And most times, women clients have this happen more often than not. We think that these people who are consultants or who are salespeople care enough about our business, and that's why they're really looking out for us. We don't always realize that that's part of a good salesperson. A good salesperson is supposed to make you very comfortable, that your guards may be let down a little bit. It isn't that we are not trying to build relationships and we don't understand when someone is there to sell to us, is that we don't realize how great a salesperson can be, and we let our guards down and it affects our decision making. And now sometimes we end up in a contract that we shouldn't be in, or in a contract that we really didn't take the time to consider because we're either pressured in a sale, convinced in the sale, or really just excited about the opportunity that we didn't take our time to do our due diligence. So as a woman in business, especially starting off, it is important that you're able to switch on the part of you that doesn't come naturally. The analytical part of you, the part of you that's a little bit more cautious when it comes to dealing with people, even if they're people you know. But essentially, you don't permit yourself to make decisions based on just your heart and how you feel. Unfortunately, to protect yourself, you're going to have to be a little more detached, I meant to say, from relationships, a little more detached from the comfort of the interactions that you have, and a little less willing to work off of just your emotional or baseline natural instincts. My 2 cents. If you happen to be a woman in business and you have questions around navigating not just the business legal aspect of things, but also the business strategic aspect of things, definitely feel free to reach out to us at AB Legal.